But let's be straight up here, Joe. Of
Yes.
course, you're the elbow whisperer.
Yep.
Cost of living. He made the case. It was the right case. People believed in him.
Yep.
But it's not all our fault. I can't do everything about it. You've set the expectations too high. If Morrison had done that, this would be the new I don't hold a hose moment. So tell me how what was so personal is now apparently magically cyclical.
Well, I think you're right that there's only so much that Scott Morrison could have done about cost of living, and indeed there's
A point
only
you
so
didn't
much.
make before May 21.
Well, I did. I was actually saying that. I did. But of course they're going to exploit that. I mean, it's exactly the same as I think it was 2007 when the former great Prime Minister John Howard said, this is about who you trust to keep interest rates low, and the Reserve Bank jacked up interest rates in the middle of the campaign, and then that was all she wrote. Now, that is proof positive, if ever there was, that it's actually not the federal government's decision or call or within its power to control interest rates because they went up at the worst possible moment for the federal government. But of course, they're going to prosecute that argument on what they think their strengths are.
What I did like set an expectation.
I think, look, obviously there's the idiotic cheer squad who will say that black is white and will just barrack for their tide. But I think, in an election campaign, I think trying to exploit that issue is a pretty mild and pretty expected tactic. What I was pleased with is that there was nothing resembling the Mediscare campaign of 2016. And indeed, I had no sympathy for Labor in 2019 when the Libs did the same thing on death duties and spread that. And so at least the election was, with the exception of every seat where Get Up was involved and the teal seats where it got very ugly and very nasty, but at least the election was a fairly clean affair and there were no outright lies told by the major parties, I didn't think.
But Michael, I mean, again, the suggestion is going to be here he is sooking yet again about the election result. No. The election result was what it was. The mob always gets it right? Best axiom that's ever been said by political people from Richo, Howard and everyone else. It's always 100% correct. But you set expectations. When Tony Abbott said, I'll stop the boats, guess what the expectation was? That he would stop the boats. So if your expectation is to do something about cost of living, guess what people expect you to have done in your first 3 months?
Yeah.
Instead, nothing.
Nothing. Well, mate, of course, that's what you can do against a 9-year-old government. People have seen the best of the 9-year-old government. They think, well, they're doing their best. They can't do any better. Albert comes along and says, hey, your real wages are under pressure, so I'm going to increase your real wages. Fail. Then he says, I'm going to do something about the cost of living crisis. There's an emergency. What can you do about that? Nothing. But after 9 years in office, that's what happens. People will think, well, I better go for the new guy's offering something that the old guy's not offering, so I'll go for the new guy. Now, of course, people fell for that trap. Now they'll realise that he can't do anything. But the bigger issue, mate, by the way, is why are we talking about cost of living, Paul? There's a threat to Australian democracy out there. Scott Morrison has threatened Australia. Why are we talking about this minuscule issue? The whole premise of our nation, a liberal democracy that's 200 and whatever years old, is under threat from Scotty Morrison, mate. And thank God there's going to be an inquiry into this. Oh, thank goodness there's going to be an inquiry. By the way, can I make 3 quick points? 1, of course Morrison did the wrong thing, we all know that. But 2, how do you think Labor would have handled this? Would you have had a couple of whinging Labor backbenchers having a go at Alba if he was in the same position? They would have run dead on the whole thing and said it was an emergency power, nothing to see here, move on. We had a couple of people, unfortunately, who fell into the trap of feeding this story and giving it far more attention than it deserves. Secondly, this is partly a payback to the Liberal Party for holding the Royal Commissions 100%. Into the home insulation scandal and the union movement, right. The Royal Commission of the Trade Union movement, right? So this is payback to the coalition, which is why I think John Howard said at the time, you don't hold Royal Commissions into your predecessors because it encourages them to do it to you. But thirdly, mate, having been in the political game for almost 50 years, Albo will be going back to his office after every press conference about this nonsense, saying to his advisors, can you believe I've kept this going now for 9 days? How lucky are we that the mugs out there and the media keep running this stuff? All he did was appoint himself to 5 portfolios, which he used once. No one knew about it.
And made a decision we agree with.
This going as a threat. Yeah, we agree with, and it's a threat to the world, the world as we know it.
Correct.
So Albo must be laughing every time he walks back to his office, buddy.